Hello and welcome to the AI Research Roundup. I'm your host Alex, and today we're diving into some fascinating AI research. We'll be discussing the paper Align Anything, Training All-Modality Models to Follow Instructions with Language Feedback. The core idea here is really about making AI models that can handle any type of input, like text, images, audio, or video, and also produce any type of output, making them better at following human instructions. The researchers point out that while we have methods like reinforcement learning from human feedback, or RLHF, for language models, it's less explored for these complex all-modality models. They tackle the challenge of not having enough diverse human preference data across all these modalities and propose a new framework called Align Anything, including new data and methods using detailed language feedback. Okay, so figure 1 here kind of lays out the whole project. On the left, it illustrates the motivation. This idea that simple binary feedback, just saying this is better than that, only tells you where the model should aim in this preference space. But language feedback, the richer stuff, actually tells the model how to get there, serving as a sort of binding across different modalities like audio or video. Then, the figure shows the data part, their Align Anything 200K dataset, which includes examples of these preferences and the crucial language feedback. Next, it points to their algorithm, Learning from Language Feedback, which uses this detailed feedback. The radar plot suggests it performs better than just using binary feedback. And finally, it shows the evaluation setup, Eval Anything, which tests both understanding and generation across all these different modes. So building on that dataset we mentioned, Align Anything 200K, Figure 2 here really breaks down its composition. You can see it covers tasks across text, image, audio, and video. 8 subtasks in total. The plots show how the data points for each modality, like text to audio or text to image, have their own distinct patterns and distributions. What this really highlights is that you need this broad mix of data. Aligning these complex models isn't something you can do by just looking at one specific modality in isolation. Right, so we just saw the overall makeup of the Align Anything 200K dataset in Figure 2. Figure 3 here zooms in on exactly how the annotations work for each data point. You see an example with multiple inputs, text, audio, image, video, and 2 possible responses. Besides just choosing the better one, the annotators rate them on specific dimensions, some tied to the modality itself, like temporal stuff for video, and others that apply generally, like information richness. And crucially, going beyond simple preference, it shows that detailed language feedback we talked about, actual critiques, and refinement suggestions explaining the reasoning. So building on that idea of detailed feedback we saw in the annotation process, Table 1 here really drives home why it's important. This table shows the percentage of agreement between human annotators when they're judging the model's responses. You can see 2 rows, one without language feedback, just the basic preference choice, and one with that detailed language feedback. Across all these different task types, like text to text, text to image, text to audio, the agreement rate is consistently higher when language feedback is involved. For instance, look at text to audio, T2A. Agreement goes from about 59% up to 64%. It suggests that this richer feedback helps people align more consistently on what makes a good response, especially as things get more complex with different modalities. Okay, so we just saw in Table 1 how that detailed language feedback helps humans agree more consistently. Figure 4 here shows how the researchers actually use that feedback in their learning from language feedback, or LLF, pipeline. It's a 2-step process. First, they train a separate feedback model using supervised fine-tuning on all that annotated language feedback we collected. Then, in the second step, called self-improving, this feedback model critiques the original model's answers, and the system uses this critique to generate a better response, creating a preference pair. This pair, the original versus the improved response, is then used to train the final model using methods like PPO or DPO. Alright, so we just talked about that, learning from language feedback, or LLF pipeline, how it uses the feedback model to improve responses. Well, Table 2 here really shows the payoff. It lays out the main results across different modalities and benchmarks, comparing standard training like DPO or PPO with those same methods boosted by LLF. And the takeaway is pretty clear. Adding LLF consistently improves performance. You can see the scores in the DPO plus LLF and PPO plus LLF columns are generally higher than without it. The paper actually notes an average 5.83 times improvement over baseline RLHF. It really validates that learning from this detailed language feedback is effective. Now, following up on those overall performance gains we saw in Table 2, Table 3 here digs a bit deeper with an ablation study. It basically checks if that dedicated feedback model we trained as part of the RLHF pipeline is actually necessary. So it compares the win rate when using the proper feedback model versus, well, just using the initial model to critique itself. And yeah, the results are pretty stark. Across all these modalities, like text image to text or text audio to text, the win rate is much higher with the dedicated feedback model, often by 15 to 25 percentage points. This really confirms that training that separate feedback model on the language critiques is key to making the self-improvement step effective. So yeah, that ablation really drives home how crucial that dedicated feedback model is. Overall, this paper shows that using detailed language feedback, their LLF method, is a powerful way to get these all-modality models to follow instructions better. It's a big step towards making AI systems that can handle text, images, audio, you name it, more aligned and genuinely helpful. Well, that's our time for today. Thanks for tuning in to the AI Research Roundup. I'm your host, Alex.